Alright guys, week 11, time for fantasy football pickups. I'm going to give you guys 5 of them this week. First I'm going to start off with QB Alex Smith. You know, with Alex Smith, I think he's going to get you something consistent. He's playing Denver next week, so expect some points put on the board. I'm not telling anyone to start Alex Smith, but if you do have some quarterback problems, like say if you had Jake Locker, who looks like he might be out of the season, Aaron Rodgers problems, Jay Cutler, etc., Alex Smith is a good solid fill-in, as he has been all year long. He's been really solid. Also, what's good about him is he's coming out the bye. I always like players coming out the bye. They're going to be really prepared for the Broncos next week. Next is running back Rashad Jennings. Since Darren McFadden's injured, Jennings has been the go-to guy in Oakland. They have shown that they have an inability to throw the football. That means lots and lots of carries by Jennings and the other crew like Jeremy Stewart, stuff like that. They also have prior struggling, so they do a lot of read option. Expect Jennings to be a vocal point continued in the offense. He's had back-to-back weeks of double-digit points. He's a decent pickup. He's not owned in a lot of leagues, under half of the Yahoo leagues. So check out Rashad Jennings. He might be a decent pickup for you guys, especially if you had a running back like Arian Foster go down, like me. Rashad Jennings wouldn't be a bad guy to get. Next is going to be running back Ben Tate. Now, I know he's owned in a good bit of leagues, but he's not owned in all of them. Check and see if he's on the wire. Since Arian Foster is gone, it's kind of just a natural fit to have Ben Tate. Most teams just had Ben Tate as kind of a handcuff, but also a good thing to look at too. If you do have Ben Tate, his trade value's risen dramatically. So if you had him on the bench all this time and you need to trade him because you have 2 good running backs already, you do have some trade bait, especially if your trade deadline hasn't been reached yet in your fantasy league. That'd be a really, really good asset for you. So Ben Tate, his stock has risen dramatically. I know he didn't have the greatest week last week starting, but he was a little banged up. Expect for him to get more points in the weeks to come. Next is wide receiver Kenny Stills. I feel like he's kind of inconsistent, but the guy, he can put up some points whenever there's a wide receiver playing with Drew Brees. It's always a nice thing to have him. Kenny Stills is always a deep threat. He could stretch the field for any fantasy owner. He stretches the field for the Saints as well. He also is good at getting touchdowns. I'm not saying he's a start because he's too inconsistent unless you have a really banged up wide receiver core. But I think he is a good, guy on the bench. If you really have to start him, go for it. Because injuries really start to pile up. Like, they're starting to pile up now, but even here in the coming weeks, they are going to really pile up. Also, keep in mind, like, bad teams. If you have a player on a bad team and he's a little banged up, there's a good chance that they won't even play him. They'll just sit him out for the season or sit him out a couple weeks so they're completely healthy because they're not playing for anything. So, say if like a Vincent Jackson got banged up or something like that, the Bucks probably wouldn't play him even if he could play, just because they want to save him for next season. So keep that in mind, guys. When you're picking up players, that if you have players on bad teams, remember that coming here in the coming weeks, they'll have nothing to play for. If a guy's banged up, they're questionable, there's a good chance they won't play. And then the final player to pick up, it's actually not a player, it's a defense. I like Cleveland defense this coming week. If you have a defense on a bye, or if you have a defense that's struggling, like you like to play Dallas D for some reason, Cleveland D is a good get. They're versing the Bengals next week. The Bengals offense has really struggled as of late, so Cleveland D would be a really good pickup to use this week. They don't cause a lot of turnovers, but they're a team that wouldn't hurt you. And if you need a fill-in defense for the week, or if you just have an awful defense, Cleveland is a good way to go. Well, I appreciate you guys watching my video this week. Hopefully you have a really good fantasy week next week, and check me out next Monday again. Thank you.